Hello everybody, welcome to Free Intermediate Pastel Workshop 16B, which is the Howitzer Helm Crag that we'll be doing today. I'll just show you the image and get cracking because this is going to be quite a large workshop. So this one here, I absolutely adore. This is by Dom Reardon, and this is Callan sitting on a rock with his mobile phone in his hand. And I do have to wonder, will this be our new normal? I doubt it. I really hope that after what's happened and the segregation that we've been through, that we'll take more time to really love the beauty around us and less times on our phone, which is kind of ironic. I'm holding my phone, showing you the picture and filming on an iPad, but and I hope that you get the sentiment. I just thought it was just a really nice thing now we're coming out of lockdown to just sort of reflect on the human nature and to also put in some figures because I know you would like that. Dom Reardon is a very, very gifted astrophotographer. If you've seen any of my large Milky Way ones, then you can bet that was probably Dom Reardon's photograph. Please give him some love and appreciation for letting us use this picture. He's on Instagram as Dom_Reardon_photo. I'm sure he'd appreciate some love, and we'll get cracking. So going into this picture, the palette that I'm using is quite varied. I may even dip in or dip out of these yet, I do not know. We will see as time goes on, I guess, what I may or may not do. But these are roughly the colours. We've got a spectrum of rusty colours, greens, greys, blacks, blues, and that's really about it. But the first thing and the most important thing that we're going to talk about is drawing. Because I know some of you are like, oh, it's okay because it's like, it's just a nondescript thing. Now this is a very descript thing and you want to get it correct. Helm Crag is very, very, very popular in the Lake District. It's very well known, so if you're going to draw a landmark or paint a landmark, then you really want to make sure that you do it some justice. So the first thing I do, it's all about proportions and estimating where your pencils are or where your lines are going to be. The first thing I'm doing is looking how much sky do we have up here. There's quite a bit, so I'm just going to put the top of the marking in with this darker grey. You can use a lighter grey if you like. I'm just using it so you can see what I'm doing. So that's about the top of the rock, which is the main feature, and we really must get this right. And then I'm now looking at the photograph and thinking, how far up the page does this rock sort of disappear? So it's about halfway, it's about here. And then the next thing I'm going to do is use the side of the paper to judge my angle reaching up to here, because this space should be the same. And it gives you just a little bit more of a guidance to know what this angle is going to do. So it's moving away probably about this sort of shape, and then the crag starts to get a bit pointy here and there. I'm not going to be too bothered about the shape just yet. I mean, I've gone a little bit too far over there, that's okay, it'll disappear. And then curves over. We have just here where this crag part steps in, we have a nice big crack there, so we can use that. Looking at the angle again, how far does that angle dip down? We can use that to sort of help us work out the shapes that are on this rock here. So I'm just using that lines and details. We don't want to put too many details in because we're going to lose a lot when we put in the shade, but this will help us really realise that what we're creating is an accurate idea of this rock here. So just putting in some extra lines there. Just the basic main features of the rock is all I need to know whether or not I'm going to do this right or not. So here we come to the seat part where Callan is sitting. And he's going to be very much a very small subject matter but very powerful in this. And I'm just looking at the edges, like how far my rock steps here, that rock goes out at the bottom further. So, you can just use your own prompts from what you create to establish more information for yourself. So we've got this big rock that comes down like that. And then we have all this area here, another big rock. And all these things will help you realise your proportions are correct. Always check the angle, because just there I was about to do that completely wrong. There's the line of this big boulder, or part of the crag I guess it is. It's like this is maybe a fissure there. It does come down at an angle, and I was about to draw it going up. And that's often what we do wrong, is we we misinterpret the angles and the projections of things. So just bring that down. I think like that, I'm happy with that. Got this dark area and some bigger rocks. Okay, so we just put a little down this area just underneath the seat. And I'm looking at that more. It's the right shape. Does it need to curve a little more? These are all decisions that you need to make. And then we have this rust land that falls down to the side like this. And now, because I feel like I've got the seat just about in the right area, I can now gauge. Okay, so there's the edge. And then we have this pointy bit just there. And just in between them bits there we have the starts of the mountains coming down the valley. Again, think about your distances and everything else. So where I've got this land here, I'm thinking maybe I want to bring it up a little more, because it doesn't look as wide at that part. I might change it again, but we'll, you know, the more details we get, the more sure we can be that we've got it correct. So we've got this little area of valley, comes down to about here, and then on the other side we can use this seat as a guide, because if I draw across, I would say that just about here is just that little pointy bit there before it starts to rise up again on that crest of that mountain. And then we've got an idea of where we come and how we meet up here. So it's all about working out your distances, really. I mean, I've maybe, looking at that now, I've probably gone a little bit too far across with that, but I can adjust and just look at it again and say, right, okay, I think that probably should have ended there and started dipping there. But these are all things that will improve upon as we get more and more information, and we can see then it's more correct or not. But for now, we just want to know where we don't want to be with regards to over applying pastels in light and dark areas. So this is all good. A little bit of a hill poking up there. And then I can think about the distances between these hills that are falling down here and not floating, but, you know, living here. So we've got this area of land here, then we've got these big old rocks that are living here. Again, you think about how much distance you have between here and your land. So it's probably quite a bit, you know. We've got a bush probably here, a dark bush on the side, and then again curves. And then if we look at that, the rock hopefully should fit in with what we've just drawn. So we're doing that big old rock up and over. And I'm reasonably happy with that. This land I might change over here. It's not perfect, but you're not really going to be sitting comparing it to a photograph. And, you know, to be honest, people wouldn't buy art if they just wanted to buy photographs of real images. I mean, you know, they'll still buy beautiful photographs, but art is subjective. You know, what you do might be beautiful to somebody and an absolute mess to somebody else. You know, it's your world, and if it's appreciated, just embrace it and enjoy it. And I know that you've all been very much appreciated for your attempts in these workshops and all the other things that you've been doing during and after lockdown. I'm sure this will continue for you, and I hope it does, because it really does take you away from any worries. Anything that you might be stewing on, you can just put it to bed for a minute. Just come here with me or anybody else who's offering these kind of workshops and creative ideas. I mean, I've been learning to play the guitar, and that's been helping me greatly, as well as the artwork side of stuff. Probably isn't helping my neighbours very much, but hey, I'm alright. So now we've got this rough sketch, composite sketch, that we can now use as a guide to be able to produce what we see in front of us. So just going to bring my pastels down here. I've got this blue is probably a little bit too intense, but it is the right shade. So not always do you have the right colours, but that's okay. We can go back and lighten them up. But I think that's definitely the closest shade that I can get to that picture. Over on this side, I'm just wondering if we should introduce the bluish green, because there is a lot of pale green hanging around there. But I think for now, I'll just bring the white in, and then we'll think about dulling that white down a bit as we go along, because it's definitely some colour there, because this part is very, very white. So I'm just going to be mindful of that as I go along. I'm just going to apply both these colours and just following this. There's these little bits of clouds out there, just living like that. So I'm just going to follow that area first and fill that in. So as usual, with the flat 3 fingers and a clean cloth at hand or a tissue, circular motion, stay within the constraints of what you're applying, and then we'll just continue to apply until we don't really see the paper colour anymore. She says make sure you've got a tissue, and she doesn't have one. I'll be right back. Rightio. So the first thing, as I say, we're concentrating about the sky. We always work from the top down because it's you're not going to smudge something that's above you, you know, but you're more likely to smudge something which is below you. So because you're never to put your hand on your work, it's just part of the hazard, I'm afraid. So again, I'm just going to go in a bit more of this white and this blue. Circular motion. I want these 2 colours to meld on the horizon, but I also want to just make this paper disappear. I don't want to see any paper. You always use the smooth side because you don't need to over apply pastel to get a good effect, and as long as you use a good fixative, you're on to a winner with it really. And I've got this nice pale green over here, sort of greeny blue, and it is definitely too white, so I'm going to try with grey first. But we do need an undercolour under there. I definitely think we could probably get away with applying the greeny white that I was showing you before. I just want to make this a little darker so that our clouds will stand out better at the top. So here we have this, where's my whitish blue gone? This one will do it. I'm going to go in a little bit more with this whitish blue, and a little darker with some more grey, I think. So we really want to make the clouds below sit on top of this. We don't want it, you know, the colours are very, very subtle though, so sometimes it's just a case of building that up. I think we're definitely going to try the greeny one. So this is greeny white. Don't worry if you don't have a greeny white. I'm just trying to basically meld in these colours that are going to be down here, and it just creates a more balanced image. And then you've got edge quite light. And then finally I'm just going to apply a little bit more grey, a little darker grey, just to this edge, and allow that lighter colour over here to just live there. Just very, very subtle little changes like so. This is probably going to be another 2-part, guys. It's been a very, very busy week because we've been preparing for the Students in Lockdown prize, which the closing date is actually, well, if you're watching this on the day that it's been broadcast, as long as there's been no technical issues in the filming, this will be tomorrow. So if you're watching it on the day, which is Sunday the 11th of July that it closes, I believe. What's the date today actually, have I got the right day? No, it's Sunday the 12th of July even. So we're still recording, just double checking because that's one of the issues that we've been having lately. Yeah, so, yeah, sorry, the closing date for that is tomorrow, the 12th of July. And there's still time to enter. There's prizes to be had. Sky Artist of the Year, Jen Gash, Sarah Reid from Red Ross Studios in Penrith, and Hayden Morris are going to be the judges, so it's going to be properly judged over, and the winner will win not only one of my originals, but they'll also win a chance to be displayed in an art gallery in Penrith. So absolutely fantastic prizes to be had. It was just a way of thanking the students for being along this journey with me during lockdown, and to also just basically say a big thank you. You know, we've got the other side of it. Well, we're doing okay, aren't we? I can't say that for sure that we're out of it, but everybody's done their bit, and you know, but it's these times are still important to be able to have some quiet time as well. Right, so the next part of it is I'm just thinking about how I need to bring this colour down, because there is some of this blue still here, all the way down here by the crag, but it's more of the greeny blue. As I said before, I might end up changing out some colours a little bit, so I'm just going to look for something that's a little bit more turquoisey, but just a hint of really out of my palette. I'm definitely going to put a lot of white in first, but we're going to apply some turquoise, so I'm just going to add this into the mix just to pick up that colour there. So for now, let's just get to it and just fill this area in with some white, and then we can add all the different variances once the white is on. So I'm just basically wiggling. I'm not being too accurate with it, just wiggling across the line that I've left. They're just very, very faint clouds. They don't need to be accurate to the photograph. They just have to look reasonable. And just trace around what you've already put in. Bearing in mind that your powerful whites are always going to muddy up your rock, so it's always a good time to check that you're in the right place with your rock. Any like intense white colours is always going to destroy dark colours coming in on top of it. So I'm just going to fill this whole area in. Just taking into account roughly where the sides of the rock is, not wanting to go too much into that, not wanting to destroy the dark colour that is to come. Just give it a nice colouring in. This is probably a slightly off-white for me. And again, flat free fingers, clean fingers actually, because we've got some little bits of blue on there. Circular motion. Don't worry too much about protecting your line for your cloud, because we can go in and over this quite a few times still. What's most important really is that we're getting rid of the sign of the paper there underneath. And just up and down movements like that, just to muddy that line. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's going to take quite a lot more white, as you can see, but it just takes patience, that's all. Just circular, keep pressing it in, pushing it around, and then the paper will take up that white. Because people often like put loads of it on and they're just not patient enough to just keep working on the pigment that's already there. And you know, it adds up, and it certainly can affect the quality of your painting. If there's too much pastel on there, it becomes muddy, and then you just lose the ability to have any accuracy with the pastel, because it's just cloudy and lumpy. Which is good, you know, for certain techniques, but I found that it works much better on a softer, smoother paper for a landscape with pastels. And as Bob Ross says, and I know I've been heard saying before, it's your world. So, you know, you can find your own techniques and your own little discoveries as you go along. I'm sure there's little things that you're picking up already that I don't show, because it's something that you've just organically learned yourself. So yeah, it's looking a very bit messy at the moment, and it will do for a while we build up the colour. I'm just getting a little bit more white, and I'm not wanting to overdo it. I'm just looking at where there's stronger hints of these clouds are just living here, and all I'm doing is just a little half circle measurement here, and then obviously there's some up here which are nice and thick, burning up in the sky. And we do have some kind of pinkish colour hues in the sky as well, which we'll get to. And I've got a nice strong white one here. But for now we're just going to really focus on our highlights of these clouds at the top, and they're quite thick and white. We also want to fill this area in a little more, so I'm just applying a little extra pastel. And then for these areas where I'm drawing these semicircles, I'm just going to follow the lines that I've created and give them a slight semicircle push, if you like, just rolling my finger over them, just to respect the shape that it is without it being too strong a line. That one there we could soften a little bit perhaps. Just a little wiggle on your finger, twist your finger over and above, and then as we come to these more sharper lines, just pull down. Try and keep the line a little bit. It's a bit nondescript. It doesn't have to be really, really perfect. It's just a hint of sky there. But we're just utilising what we have in our armoury with pastels. Give that little swoop, a little push, and then the rest of it is just straightforward blending. Well, this white is very, very bright, very much in your face, and we'll be dulling it down a little bit as we go along. But this will do us for now. You might want to put another little sharp line in here. You know, some edges of clouds are quite sharp, some edges are sort of nondescript, but it just adds a little bit of personality to what you're looking at. Okay. So as I look at the picture further, I really want to sort of bring in some more pinkish hues to that. For that end I've got this one, because it really is way too white. And I'm just going to bring in this, introduce these pinks in amongst these clouds, just by gathering in amongst some of the shaded areas, some of the pink. That thick one up here has a bit of a pinkish hue on it as well. And then I'm just going to very softly drag that across. Over here, it's almost like the pale blue again, pale yellow colours. So I'm just going to first of all emphasise these pinks that I can see that are just sitting there in the clouds all day long. And just a wiggle, and it's just that hue that you want to connect with, nothing else. This area here, definitely wanting to go into more of a greenish hue. As I said before, I felt like there should be some green there. I mean, this green's probably a bit on the light side, but I'm just going to apply that across. It goes in very nice with the pink. Gives a much nicer feel to that sky, I think. So let's apply that. Just dampen that white brightness down a little bit. And then where we had the pink, just give it a tap it out. Let them colours just mudge around. It's a bit nondescript. There we go. A bit nondescript. I mean, there are some aspects of this cloud here you can see more of. You could work on that if you wanted to. Here I'm just going to push that pink in and soften this pink down here. And then again, tap, 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 tap. Tap out those colours for yourself. I mean, if you think you're not doing something right, you can always come back to it and take a photograph. I always recommend that. I do it all the time, and I'll probably do it today at some point while I'm doing this, to make sure that I feel that I'm, you know, achieving what I'm looking for, really. So just going to make sure this area here is nicely covered. And then down here we do have some low-lying pink clouds as well. So just take the side of your pastel, just give it a wiggle up and down, and then let go. Along here we've got another long, very, very thin, pale pink clouds. So just wiggle and let go, and wiggle and let go. And it's so indiscreet, just allow that green to just mop it up with a push. It's very, very indiscreet. They're just living there, just about visible, just about. Okay. And then for the edges here, if you wanted to make this a little bit more, there's a bit of a yellowish glow to it as well if you want to apply yellow. I don't think I'm going to worry too much about yellow on top of that. I quite like these purples and sort of off greens, sort of taupey tones, they're nice. But I'm just going to gather the edge of this cloud's definition. Does definitely have a shape just there, but it's so subtle you can barely see it. Again, just allow that colour to push back and just allow it to sit there. It's nothing too discreet. A little bit more around here. It's coming up from the side of that cloud. There we go, just envelop it a little bit more. And we're about there, I think, with the sky. So it's a very, very low-key sky. Very interesting, but very muted as well. I mean, most of the excitement is coming from the subject matter, really, and it is a beautiful scene. So now we're going to be getting rid of pinks and things like that. I'm just going to, as I said before, a little bit of sky issue here that was showing through. You've got to be ever so brave, just slightest of touches of this blue. I'm just going to push it back I don't want much to show there. There we go. You may want to put a little bit more just sort of pastel, you know, so it's a little bit more see-through, just by adding some streaks and letting them rub back again. That'll do. You just want the things going on, and you can reiterate that cloud, that pink one, by giving it a little bit of a top. It just helps make this blue space above it look more believable, really. I'm just now dabbing in some extra little details, tapping and dabbing as I go along. Okay, I think that'll do for that. I think the next thing we'll concentrate on, we'll get rid of these colours, and then we'll go into the greens and we'll look at the valley, and then we'll get to the rock. So let's bring these out of the way. We want the greeny white and all the others in between. So now we can really start to look at this lowland over here, and we can work out exactly where it is that we need to be. I'm just bringing that into the edge, not too far because that's where the seat is. I've gone over the seat a little bit, but I won't panic about that. So first of all, we just need to look at the different greens that are going on here. Everything is quite muted, and so for that point I want us to actually bleed your white, your greeny white or your white down to that first. If you remember, there's a line here. We want to lighten this, so when we apply the colour it is going to look more washed out, and just basically using this creamy pastel to mute our greens, and it'll just create a better effect. So I'm just now filling in that area with this muted green. At the very, very back here there is a lowland, and I'm just trying to gauge that and go back in with my pencil and rework where my seat was, which is about here, I think. Because it doesn't harm to revisit your lines, you know, if you've lost them you can always put them back in. Right, so that just gives me a better sense of what happens with this valley down here. And I know that there's a very distant land over here in pale green. It's just about, you know, you can just about make it out. So let's put that in. Nice strong greeny white. We might want to highlight that further as we go along. But at the moment I'm just muting the greens that I'm going to apply with a softer, lighter colour. And also there's still some lightness coming down this hill, so I'm being quite cheeky and preparing what I'm doing here, so that when I apply the colour, hopefully these lighter colours will help me. Okay, look. So then we look at the greens I've got this sort of muted green. I think what we'll do is we'll try that one first and see how we get on. And I'm just going to work again. There's my rock. So this was the side of the hill. I'm just going to put in the basis of that first, just to give me a little more of an anchor and knowledge of where I'm at with it. So let's put that edge in. I'll just show you what I mean about this misty look. Let's just get that in there and out the way. If you just not fully colour that in, but then as you come further up into the creams, you push it in, and the creamy will always break through. So you'll have this very, very minor difference in colour from the top down. Now I would say that's about the right colour, so I'm just wondering if I've got a lighter green that I can use. If I don't, it's not the end of the world, because as I say, I can just apply more of the light colours on the top, and I'm not seeing one that's any lighter than that one. No, definitely not. Okay, well, it's not the end of the world. So now we're going to come back to this area here we know that the pointed edge, probably looking from the seat and just below, it's about here. And now we want to try and build up what we can see already. So, from the top, we can bring them in together if you feel safer with that, but at the moment it's still a bit dark for me, so I'm probably going to soften it again. So we have this area here which travels along, and then we have a little kick up, and then it starts to decline from there. I'm looking at the shape of the hill. Yeah, I think we're going to meet up about right. Okay, so I'm happy with that. And then it just basically, there isn't a lot of it, because it just starts to hide behind this other hill here. Again, look at your distance between your hills, so you're putting the hill in the right place for this hill. I'm just going to put in the outlines of this for now. So we have quite a strong line there, and then just after that hump we start to get curve off, and then a little incline. So you can use everything that's around you to recreate this, everything. And I'm just going to fill this area in more broadly with the darker green. And I'm just already looking at the shape of the hill, how it goes up, looking at that match around. That's how I'm pushing the pastel in the direction of the hill. It just all helps in the direction and everything. So now, just going to push that up and get that one nicely blended in. And this area here, I know I'm going to cheat a little bit. I'm going to push some of this colour that's dusty up into that area, because I want a lighter green. I don't want a strong colour. But I might as well just utilise what's already on here to create that washed out hill kind of look. So I'm just bringing up that green. I'm going to redraw that. I'm going to retrace in that hill, because I just really like the way that this meets up, and it's just the right shade, just the right amount of what we need to just complete this look. So, you know, sometimes things just happen. And now I'm quite happy with that, because it's quite a soft. I wasn't sure where to go with that green, whether I was going to need to lighten it or not. I can soften some of the edges of this a little bit with the lighter green, if you think that some of the pigments are too strong on the outside edge. I'm going to come back in and pop that other green in again. So I mean, this time I could go in with a little darker, just because there are edges of it that are quite distinct. Now I've got the greeny white, I think what we'll do is we'll start by tracing in the existence of this mist as well. So I'm just now imagining, if you imagine that it pools and it moves around like so. We need to look again at this hill. How far down does it swoop? I think we might need to rearrange that edge because I don't think that shape's right, but we'll just put in the idea of what we can see at the moment. And that mudges up into it. That's when we do like to mudge up colours together with mists. It works really nicely. And I'm just going to actually get a clean finger. I don't want it to be too green looking. I'm just going to very roughly let that colour dissolve in. And this is our misty fells. And again, it's just another way of building up accuracy with your painting. If you know roughly where something lives, but it's at a different point where you really want to be, it doesn't matter if it helps you get the accuracy of the drawing correct as well. So, another top tip. I've muddied the edges of my mountain a little bit. If you take a little, one of these little belters that you've seen me use before, you can lift a bit of the colour off and away, and you can still apply colour over it to a degree. But I've muddied my edges a little bit, so I'm just going to concentrate on that, bring a little bit of that green and white on the edge again. That's what we use for the sky. And then you can always, as well, as long as you stay in the same area of the finger, go over the line, but always only if you know where your finger is in relation to the line. And you can get quite a sharp line that way. Okay, guys. Right. So, the next part, back to this area here. I want to make this pointy bit a little bit more descriptive than it currently is, because it definitely does have a place to live. And I'm just very lightly just putting the tiniest of lines in there, because I do not see that little hill very clearly right back there. And I want it to show, I don't want it to be too strong. So I'm just dragging that across with the tiniest amount of pigment. It's just a hint of something that's there, nothing else. And again, now I'm just looking at my shapes that I've got here. And I think that my line possibly has gone a little bit too high. And again, it's fixable, so it's not the end of the world. Bringing it into a sharp point here. And there's these misty edges which we can't see much of, but they're there nonetheless. And we do have a little bit of depth just here on that hill. So I'm just adding a little bit of depth there. A clean finger from the point out. I'm going to blend that and then push that back, because it just shows that this hill has a little bit of definition. It's not too descriptive. I mean, that's the cool thing about mists. You don't have to be as exacting. If you make a mistake, it's not going to show as much, because you can just say, oh, it's mist. So blame it all on mist. So I'm looking at that now, and I'm definitely not on the right point. I'm looking at the distances between the hills and the gap between. So I'm thinking, okay, I've done that bit, that looks okay. So the space from where this hill that's further in the foreground, there's probably about this much space between the two hills. And then again, it's just a case of concentrating on the angle. And this particular edge here is quite dark and dense, but not all of this hill is dark and dense. So you need to think about how the mists are just obscuring the sharpness of your lines as well. So I'm just going to bring this into focus. It kind of just starts to get mudgy over there. I'm not very descriptive, just about here. But we do have quite a nice sharp line sitting along that bit. So we can emphasise that and bring it down with a little bit more application of pastel. Likewise, there's a little hillock here that we can thicken. And then it's just a case of thinking, right, what's the direction? It's a bit of an upward swoop. Curls up, a bit like so. Start getting now definition of hills and things that are going on. So we have another darker area here that comes out the mist, which is more descriptive. And we can start placing little edges of land. But more emphasis on the shaded parts really. So this is quite shaded. Swoopy swoop into the mist before it kind of disappears and goes up. So just remember, putting your lines in for your hills is important as well. And just utilise this moment to just work that out. Cream finger, pointed end, so you don't smudge anything else. And just blend in the direction of the hill. This one's a little softer, so maybe give it a little bit more of a tap. So that line isn't so strong. We want to keep these stronger, darker lines here too. And again here, up. And just push the pastel in the direction of your hill to create more of a landscape. I'm just going to tap this in. We can work on that a little bit more. So you can look again at the picture and revisit it, and you can see if there's darker lines, there's lighter lines, all sorts of different things going on. There does seem to be a bit of a a lighter area here, which I'm just going to trace in with a little tiny bit of white, and then I'm going to soften again. Your mists can really just, you know, pervade a sense of detail sometimes, and that can be useful sometimes as well. I'm just going to tap that in, just create a little bit more depth, a bit of blow. Tap it in again. And that edge there is a bit sharp, but we can, like, clean fingers again, push it up. We can revisit anything we want to anytime. And we can make that mist brighter if we want to make it brighter. We can make the hills darker if we want to make it darker. I think I'm definitely going to go a bit darker, to be honest with you. Just because there are aspects of this that there's a little bit more detail than you'd first think. So I'm going to go back in now with this darker green and this little hill here. I'm really wanting to make it stand out a bit more. Not overdoing it with this dark green. I'm just going to use it to complement what I can see in the image. Because we do have what looks like maybe even some trees in the distance just appearing above the mist. Now you see is now you don't kind of thing, but this area here is definitely more dense and richer in colour, so we'll emphasise that. This area too, just emphasise your edges. Where does it start, where does it end? We have a nice big sort of fissure going up here like so. And then on this edge it's definitely darker, so we'll put in some more of these upward swoops for the incline in that mountain. And I'm just going to ever so slightly darken that edge as well. And it's just thinking about light and dark. We've a little bit more dark just by this fissure here, whatever that is. And we have some more lines which we can swoop down with. But all in all, leading to this very indescript area up here. But it's just all the little details that just command what you're presenting to people, really. So I'm just going to, that is more shade, so I'll tap that in. Just emphasise that that is shade rather than shape. These we can push up and tap at the top because we want to mudge it again, because it's a little bit more nondescript up there. There we go. So we're starting now to really feel like we're knowing this landscape a little better. I'll bring this line down a little bit further. I'm just observing again where things can be improved. A little bit of land showing up under the mist there. So just give it a little squidge and then an up and down movement. It's nondescript, but it's part of the land. Bring your line into it a little, just so that it makes more sense. And then block, block, block back. So I'll just give you a lot of tapping. You might want to add a little bit more of the swirling mist to make it a little bit more detailed. Some that will just stick up a little higher on little edges. Some that will hug the line of the land. And then we have some that are like a little bit more dusty and light, and a little sharper and bright. So just have a think about that when you're applying your mist. I've got a load of loose white here, but I'm actually going to take advantage of that and just pile it on my finger and tap, tap, tap. And it just, you know, like Bob says, happy accidents. So, and actually might as well make use of this and just make that mist look even more interesting by just loading it onto the pastel. It's broken off, so I might as well use it rather than waste it. And all I'm doing is padding them crumbs up into my finger, mushing them in, and then just padding them along. And it just creates, oh wow, you know, highlights of mist. And it was just, again, as Bob Russell said, it's just a happy accident. And I do love him. He's a sad loss to us, isn't he? But at least we get to watch him again on BBC at the moment. I'm just tapping that through. Let's just really go for it. Allow that thickness of the white to become part of it. There we go. I mean, we can always soften it further. I mean, I would say that probably up there is a little bit too sharp, but we can bring some more of the greens down into it. We know that there was some land showing here, so we just add that and drop it back with a tap. And then likewise with the green, you can push it in a little bit and then knock it back with a tap. And it just creates this magical, misty looking morning on the Helm's Crag. There we go. Better just double check that we're still recording, because we are having issues with recording. Yeah, we're still recording, that's good. Right, so we've kind of now traced in roughly where we think these areas should live. I'm looking at that green now, again, and comparing. I always go back and compare. It's probably a little bit on the dark side, if I'm honest. It's more of a lightish sort of brown. So I'm just going to come back down here and retrace it with the lighter green, so that I can just add a little bit of a different hue to this hill. But this is how we learn. You know, adapting, changing, looking and observing. I'm just going to lighten that out a little bit. See what this one comes on like. So maybe just a little darker than that actually. So let's try this brown here. So I'm just going to trace that sharp bit that you can see on the photograph, but it's more of this soft brownish colour. It might be a little bit on the dark side still actually, but and also there's a little bit of it showing here. Again, it's just all about observing what you're seeing, and 9 times out of 10 pastel allows you to adjust. I'm just going to add in these extra colours, and I just think that is probably more accurate. I think that this has probably come a little too far. But, you know, it's all okay, we're all learning. Maybe down to about there with the green, the lighter green, just to accent that curve on that hill. And all in all, that's like looking to me a lot more believable. I'm going to go back in with my dark fissure here that I've lost. So it lives a bit like that. There also is a slight highlight on it. I think I might just use a lighter green actually. I'll give it a blow. And then just looking at this area here, I've probably gone a little bit too steep on the gradient going up there. I'm just going to flatten that a little bit with that. A little bit more depth in this area here. And it's just all about building up depth really at this point. Just soften that. And then looking at where you've got highlights and lowlights, and go back in with this lighter green brown that I started off with before and wasn't sure about. But I can definitely highlight some more areas with this mix of colour. And just adding them in here and there, just to bring everything together into a single composition. Right, I'm going to go back up again to this top line here and reiterate that line. I want to make it just right. So if a little crag up there, and then it drops. Straight down to that straight line. And again, I'm just going to soften that edge. Just wanted to be sure that that is recognisable as a line of hills. Give it a blow. And I do feel that now that we're getting somewhere. There's a little bit of a misty area just up here where it's a bit lighter, but I'm not going to go into too much worry about it. Just want to bring it together to that lighter area down here. So by adding a little white, just pushing it back, let's really emphasise that area there. Okay. Where we have this darker green, just going to smudge the lines, blur the lines into the mist a little more, just a little. I think we're almost there really. And this line that I put in here, it's not entirely in the right place, so I'm just going to bring it over. Let's do more like that one. Little shade in the corner there where it's a bit steeper, so we want to show that. And there we go. And then within these lines again, you might want to just add a couple of swooping lines, just follow the line that are in there already. I'm starting to feel a little more confident with this as we're going along. I want to soften that blur there, but I also want to strengthen some aspects of this. I want this dark green area here to sort of just be a little bit more apparent, the edges of it at least. There we go. I think I'm pretty happy with that now. It does take a lot of, it does take a lot of work to sort of try and gauge where everything is and that kind of thing. So down here again, I'm going to use this lighter because there's mist down here into the valley. I'll come up to this one point, roughly here. So I'm just going to add in that now. It'll give me a guideline and also soften some of the greens as I come to add them in. I'm just looking at this valley here now. And just over here we have quite an intense swoop of brighter mists. So when I add them in, I might even add a bit of white. If that doesn't stand out enough for me, I might add more white. But this is just sitting further forward, it's a bit more dense. Let's try some white now then. Just make this more intense. There's a hill here that I've gone right over on. Hopefully we can rescue that. Swoops. And just behind here as well, behind these hills actually, just paying attention to more of the details. Yeah, there's quite a much stronger, denser piece of mist here than anywhere else. And it all helps. So I'm just taking the darker green because I know I've messed up a little bit here because I put too much of the white. So we do have this little hill poking up and over the mist here. It just gradually disappears. I'm just going to start putting in the colours, just the shapes as well. Just shaded areas here. And this is where we can start applying our various different greens. A little more of a lighter green there. It all comes up to this point. And then we've got the rock there, so we can use that as another guide. We've got all these different sort of shaded areas and everything down here. So for now I'm just going to do some swoops with the colour, and then we can start building on it even more later on. I think it's about time we put this one in. And just follow the line that we can see on that as well. It sweeps quite dramatically there, and then at which point the mists are starting to take you over. I'm probably going to use a different colour altogether here because it's just washing out. And we can always use pencils as well. That's not a problem. I have some brighter greens here that definitely are happening more and more in this area between these rocks and stuff. So I'm just building up and underpainting, if you like, a sense of all the different colours that are presenting to us in this field. And I just really want to just colour most of this in for now. So this is misty, so I'm not worried too much about dragging colour around. There's bits of it that are going to be showing more and less. And just set ahead about filling this area in with colour. And then we can start putting in stronger lines here and there as well. But we're getting a general sense. Pushing back that mist with this foreground hill here. Well, it's not really foreground, but middle ground hill. And we're working to push that back with different intonations and things that are going on underneath them mists. And here we can start even scooching a little bit of mist over it, so that we can blend and meld a little bit more, make it look more obviously misty. Just a few little hints of things, and then just a gentle tap, very gentle. And it just sets that hill back, but it also sets the mist back as well. So we'll be looking again at shading, because the first thing I'm doing is looking at the shading. Right. Everything else will fall in around the shades. So I've got this darker area just here. And we have a little swooping line of something sticking up there, to get that in. And then we have this line that leads us up to the side of our hill. It's just like the painting, just like the photograph. And it gives us another opportunity to get this line right. Over behind the seat. And we have another quite strong hill there. We can draw in, excuse me, and just pull that colour down. I don't want to lose that line that I put in already. And then for this one, just a basic swoop. And we really are starting to get the sense of this raw landscape below. I mean, wouldn't you want to sit up there? And bring that into a bit higher up. But you'll find that in the intermediate classes I'm a lot quieter. Because I am concentrating very hard, because I want to just show you exactly what I'm doing. No messing, this is it, this is what I do day in, day out, and I want you to be able to get the most from that. So apologies if you don't really like big silences and stuff like that, but I'm hoping that the Poppy Fields one was the hardest one we've done so far, and the amount of amazing work that came out of that, I have every confidence that you're able to do this completely. So, if you do have any questions, just get in touch. I'm always around, always able to help. If I can't, I'll go away and find an answer, because we don't always know everything. We think we do. I'm just now seeing the little patches of shade and dark, light dark, and I'm just wanting to get that basis in for these hills now. Isn't hay fever a doozy, guys? I'm sick of having it. Sniffling away. Right. And this is very thin here. There's not a lot of pastel on board, so we've got plenty of time to build and build and build on this. So I'm just going to do what I typically do when I'm not so sure, and as like I said before, you can just take a photograph of your work, and then you can see almost immediately if there's something quite not right with it. Just bringing in the green and white again into this edge. It's just climbing up and then dissipating. So we'll put that in. Just a tap. I'm sorry about the sniffles, I'm so sorry. Right. Soften this line again. Dribble. It is starting to take shape. There's still a lot of things here that I want to add. Like I keep seeing little bits more depth in this hill over here than I saw before. But you know, this is up for you to gauge as well. For you to go and look and look and look and keep on until you feel like you've actually, you know, got to a point where you can say that you're happy with it. But don't be hard on yourself if you're not happy with it, because it's all part of learning and everything is subjective, as I've said before. You know, there's nothing to worry about anybody else's judgment on you. The only thing that really matters is that you have had some time away from hassles and everything else, and you know, as this builds and builds, you'll have this sense of achievement that you've managed to accomplish it. You know, and make a point of doing it even if things are tricky, because you feel better that you've made an effort and actually done something, rather than like not feeling too great, you know. Sometimes things will work against us, but you can come back to it and we can still reattempt and we can still get it right. All those things, you know, it's all in your control. Just try and be good to yourself and nicer to yourself as well, you know. I think too often we're a nation of people that are just self-deprecate all the time, and we don't actually give ourselves any importance, and you've got to be well to be able to be well for others, you know. So make sure you do have time for this kind of thing, it's important. Now, looking at this, there's like little lines of roads and stuff like that going on, so I'm going to utilise my pastel pencils a little bit. I think I've got a dark enough green. If not, I can just go for a dark brown for the light application of it, or a light black. But we do have, in these mists down here, we can see there's little separations going on, whether they're field markers or roads, who knows. But they're certainly a bit too light, I think, for what I need. But I'll just put them in nonetheless, and then we can go back to them. Probably need to just use a pastel pencil. I don't think I've got a colour that will match this. Let's try again with this darker colour. We do have things that are more in shade, a little taller. So use your line wisely. Think about when it hits the shade. Is it going to be darker there, or is it going to be lighter? What would you expect it to do? But nonetheless, we do have some tracks or walls or bushes dividing this land up just along here. And we also have quite a substantial one down here. Just bringing that into line. Because these little details are what make it all come together really, because you will see parts of it light up and parts of it dim because of the mist. So you can accentuate what the mist is doing as well. Some little important little shapes here and there. And I'm just using this black just to, it's not really a dark black, it's very light black, but just to sort of hone some of these shaded areas into something a bit more interesting. In here you would expect to have a little bit of a highlight under it, so we can go in with some white as well. This one, this dark one here, I put in. Definitely have highlight underneath it. So I can have some white to highlight underneath it as well. And suddenly everything's starting to make a little more sense. And I'm going to go back into this fissured area here with this darker colour and re-emphasise that. And then obviously there is a little light on the other side of it, so we can, oops, we can highlight that as well. In certain areas. Soften that line. And it's just a case of building textures really in different things as you're going along. In this fielded area here we can, now we've kind of put in the sense of this ongoing thing here. I'm just going back with my black. I think I'd rather go over it again with green because, you know, we've got this little island here, we've got the little roads coming off of there as well, or wherever it is that we do. I want to get that swoop going up the hill, so we get a sense of that hill building up there, which is, it is in there, it is there, so let's get some swoops down and then just softly drag. I'm going to go back to these sort of nondescript sort of light browns and add some more colour because there are changes in the colours here, just like on the other side. And then all I'm doing now is wet gauging, right? So we get that swoop out of the way. We could do some quite dark green ridge here, so let's get that on board. But then we start to get a bit brighter, a little bit more optimistic. Trace these lines, dark green. But we definitely have that darker green living up here. So maybe just a bunch of trees living there. And we seem to have this kind of swoop of extra hill there, although it's not that obvious, but you can see it just by looking at the shading. Excuse me. And now I'm going to concentrate on brightening up these fielded areas. Come back down here. It's pretty nondescript really. We know that there's a sort of dark divot there. So let's get that in. Some other darker areas here. So let's trace in the dip that we have, if you like, here. And get that out of the way. And then we've got some, it's not mist as such, I don't think it is anyway, but it's just some lighter areas down there. So bring that up to the right colour. And tap in some of these areas again. And I'm going to do my old famous trick. First of all, I'm going to check to make sure we're still recording. Which we are. Brilliant. How long have we been on for, guys? Over an hour and 10 minutes. Right, okay. Right, this will be the conclusion then of the first part of this workshop, I think. I will separate it up into maybe 2 or 3 pieces, probably 2. I think that once we get cracking with the rock in the foreground and the figure, there's probably going to be one more lesson. So we haven't got very far today. I think one of the things I will just do is just maybe give us another more 5 minutes working on this area here in the immediate foreground. I think we definitely will do that first. I'm just going to get a brighter green. First of all, first and foremost, is just looking at the delicate shapes, because there's lots of fields here and it's a long way down, and these fields have different crops, different things going on in them. So I think the first thing I'm just going to do now is just bring in the shapes that are in these hills so that I can work out later on where we're at. So here we're quite greenish here with some shading, but we can emphasise all that. So I'm going in there with quite a bright green to begin with. And again, I want to make that area look a little bit more descript. Let's bring it into the mix a bit more. And you have got all sorts of interesting features going on here. And if we were to sit and work it all out, we'd be all here forever. What we want to do is make the best out of economising with the information that we have and create the best effect, really. So I'm just going back down to where, whoops, there's my rock. So that's resketching the foreground. We've got this bush or rocky thing here, I don't know what it is. And then it comes up and then dips. And we have this big rock here. Right, now we're making sense of it. Okay. In this area here, we have quite a forested area, so let's put in the most obvious things first. So it's quite dark. Just tracing around my rock a little bit. Not too worried about the rock at present. This area here is a bit darker as well. We're not putting too much in terms of colour, just going to accent it. But this area, yeah, for sure is very dark. And we can look again at this little area here. There's a definite embankment there, embankment of sorts, steepness. So we can reiterate that again. And a little bit of a highlight just in front of it to show that we have another edge of it. And the same here, I'm just going to use a slightest green, white, green and white, just to dictate where these fields and that are living. So I'm just going to soften that. Same as this area here. But I think that we're slowly coming to a close for this week. It's been a very hectic week getting everything ready for you guys for the competition. This is only filmed Saturday morning at 6 AM, so it's just been non-stop. I've just been trying my best to get everything done and ready for you, and I just can't wait to see the results of the test and everything else that we've been doing. It's just been fabulous working with these, and I really hope that you really take something from this moving forward, and that you're able to you know, just basically love life more, appreciate the nature that we have around us more, enjoy the mindfulness that artistry creates, or any kind of creativity. Enjoy it, you know. I mean, if we've discovered nothing throughout this, then it would be really sad to think that there's so many people that have just had to do something because they had nothing to do and they loved it, and it transformed them for a few weeks, them to then go back to normality. Just please keep doing it and reminding yourself, why do you enjoy this? Reminding yourself this is something that, you know, is just for you and just perfect for you and just you alone. And it's important, you know, it's always important to make time for yourself. Never ever skimp on that. Just putting in these lines again. Just feel like they still don't look like they're doing much, but we will tidy these up next week. So it's a hell of a lot of work what we've done at the minute for not very much reward. I appreciate that. But it will be worth it. You'll be coming out of this very happy with the results, I'm sure. I'm just touching in some little highlights there and there. But for now, I think we'll leave it, and then we'll come back and we'll start putting in more of the fields and all these other wonderful things that are happening here. I just put some little trees on there, some little lines, just makes it look a little more believable. And this is the kind of thing, it's just adding little touches, the tiniest of touches. It doesn't have to be like the most amazing thing anyone has ever seen ever. As long as it makes sense to the viewer, then that is mission accomplished, really. I'm just putting in, just trying to do this because I just want to make it look like it means something rather than just looking like a bunch of colours, which it does at the moment. We've got a little bit of a road there. I actually think it's probably a wall. Again with highlights on it. I'm sure I'm probably going to end up going over this again and again tomorrow, but next time we come back. A little bit of light brush here. A little bit of a brown edge there. I don't know what that is really to describe it, but it's just little characteristics of the land. And a little dusty line here, because it's when you start putting in the field markers that all these sort of weird nondescript shades start to work. This is just something I want to give you before we go today. So we have this little nondescript thing here, and then we have a whole field. It's not perfect, but I'm not too worried. But we do have a whole field here of a lighter colour brown. Which comes down all the way down to this part, which is then another quite distinct shape. Oh, and there goes my white. So yeah, let's bring that in. And it's just all these little details that really finish it off, you know. So this is definitely a wall. It's coming more and more into view. So we get towards our bush over here. Let's kick a line now. And then little fields and walls here as well. So it's all the little things that will really finish the painting off. And I'm just putting the lines in for now, but we're going to be filling in different areas of different colours as well. I need to get more of a black charcoal for that area because it's quite thick of pastel. Just make it stand out a bit more. And then over this we've got little hills and walls living over the edge of this area here, and it's just looking at what you're painting really, and just observing and remembering dark and light in everything. I mean, even these nondescript things here have dark and light in them. So now I'm looking at this and I can see more and more that I want to build on, so I think we'll keep going just a little bit longer. We've got quite a big steep hill, comes all the way along, a bit darker than everywhere else, reaches right up to that wall edge, and down, so let's darken that area. We can put some highlights in our wall. It's quite a thick wall, I still think we need to put some more information in there. There's a sort of lightish bit there, going off on its own direction, catching the light, doing the corners as well, with some bushes. Well, these are just, it's your world really, and you can decide where everything wants to live. So this is the other edge of that wall, meandering over a bit of a hill. If you're finding that your black isn't taking too well, like this isn't, oh, and there goes another pencil, you can always, you know, just try and apply thicker pastel, which I probably will do. There's the top of that wall, going off into the distance. These are all little things that just add to the finished article of your work. Up a little, and then we're following that line again. And this one has a bit of a highlight, not much. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll continue with this next week, and we'll finish adding these finer details into the fields and everything. At the moment I'm just combining dark and light just to create what we can see. Remembering that, where's my other black charcoal? Yeah. Remembering that, you know, that there's lots of interesting little things going on if you take time just to notice them, and it just helps with providing just a visual for the person that's observing your painting. And now I'm just going to see if I've got anything left on this. I don't think I have. The highlight there, and over there. Just a little bit there and there, where that's meeting up. And again, just think about highlights. It just all brings it back to life. We have some more sort of, as I say, we've got this dark area here, but I'm realising that I want to make that darker and more obvious that is a dip there. I've got a dip. I want to be able to show that dip's there, but it makes sense, you know. It's a bit of a deep little decline just there in that field. And likewise, you know, it's just all the little effects, so you can see that genuinely this is going to just really pay off to take the time just to understand what we might be seeing here. We might have another pastel pencil that's going to break on me by the looks of it. We have another little area of interest there, make it more discernible. And then likewise down here we've got all sorts of colours. I mean, we've got like a whitish kind of off green and middle and greens. So just take your time to just continue to build up depth. This one over here it's more, there's not much you can really make of it. You can tell that all of this area here is very wooded and dark, so we can go in there with quite a dark pencil. Bring it right up to that corner where it is. But you can just also do zigzaggy kind of things like this, and then it just helps to give you the idea of what's going on there. And then down here we've got more land, lush land. It's not this bright, but I'm going to use that darker green to just muddy it up a bit, like so. Again, lost a bit of the black, so I'm going to come in a bit harder with it to show that edge. And really, there's just these areas around here that we just need to work on. But you can see we're starting to get shapes as the hill. Got a little bit of, we can maybe put some highlights on the top of this hill here just to sort of give it a little bit more life. That area might got a bit of sun as well, but we can do that. We can broaden it and narrow it and just really enjoy the lushness of this valley. into the dark areas here. Really accentuate that. There's another dip leading up to these hills above. And it will eventually take place. Something that you'll be very pleased with. I know it's probably a little bit frustrating, but this is well over an hour of recording now, and I've got to be careful that I don't run out of space on the iPad. So I'm gonna sign off for now. I keep saying I'm going to sign off, and then I'm like, oh, but I want to do that and I want to do that, because I just want to leave you something that looks a bit exciting if you want to come back to, really. I'm just going to put some different greens in along this area. Just thinking about shapes again, but I think I am going to leave it actually now, because you can already see I'm just going to do what I normally do and take a photograph of this. I think one of the things, I'll tell you what we will do, because it just brings it into life, is I'm going to remove all my colours off here, which is very naughty of me really, because I've covered it all in green. And I think what we'll do is we'll put some of the rusty foreground in, just so that you can see all this getting pushed back, because then it will look a lot more satisfying for you as the artist, just to be at that point this week. So I'm just going to soften that, but I think that just this will give you a good example of not to panic, because sometimes you just need to add something, a detail. So let's get in here with this black bush that's just here, this blacky brown bush. I'm just going to very roughly put it in, fill it in, maybe a bit bigger, maybe a bit more of a dip, I think. Let's fill him in there. We're just going to add some bits of colour, just so that you can visualise how this is going to take shape for next week, because it will make all the difference, it will. I've got this normal brown, and I'm just going to look at where I want everything to be. So that's the shape there where the rock is that we'll have over here. And I'm just going to very, very roughly, do nothing much, just fill in some of this area for you, just to give you a sense of pushing this into the background. And then obviously this is where there's glorious details over here. So I'm just giving you the hint of this, and then when we come back next week, I hope that you'll be more excited to see what you're going to create. So we're just putting in a rough idea of this land. It's very rusty and old looking. And we're not going to fuss too much about where we put the colour, maybe looking at some of it where it lives in basic terms. But it's just what they call an underpainting, I guess. So that I just think this will just help you guys be patient with me until next week. I hope so anyway, because it will be worth coming back to try again. So I'm just going to now quickly put in a rock. There's my big rock, happy rock, with a buddy next to him. And then hopefully this will get you excited for next week, because it will be a very pretty scene, it will be. And along with the emotive figure that's on that rock up there, I think that we'll all enjoy it. So I think that's it for now. I'm just going to take a little photograph, make sure that it doesn't look dreadful, completely dreadful, and then we can continue next week. Yeah, I think that's looking okay, guys, isn't it? Yeah, I think we're going to make a really nice job of that one. But we shall see you in part 2, which will probably be about the same again in terms of technique and timing. So yeah, have a great week. There is going to be 2 parts to this, so don't panic. And I really hope that you've enjoyed having a little bit of relaxation, just building up this really interesting piece by Dom Reardon. Thanks again for joining me. Again, if you've got any questions, you'll find me at emmahunt.art or Emma Hunt Art on Facebook, and artist Emma Hunt on Instagram as well. So have a great week, and I'll see you next time. Thank you guys. Bye guys. Bye.